There comes a time on the spiritual path when you begin to feel something you can no longer ignore. A heaviness, a dimming, a subtle draining of your energy. A quiet sense that something in your life is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. It doesn't happen all at once. It begins gently, like a faint whisper inside your chest. A discomfort you can't explain. A tiredness around certain people. A shrinking of your natural light when you enter certain rooms. At first, you think it's you, that you're being too sensitive, too emotional, too withdrawn, too spiritual, maybe. But awareness has a way of revealing truth with patience and precision. Eventually, something inside you becomes undeniable. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your next level of awakening. This realization doesn't come from judgment. It doesn't come from ego, and it certainly doesn't come from superiority. It comes from awareness, from clarity, from inner truth, from a soul that is awakening and needs space to breathe. Swami Radha taught that as your inner light grows, you begin to feel when someone is blocking it, not because they are bad, but because they are not aligned with the direction of your evolution. Some people dim your light without meaning to. Some drain it without noticing. Some fear it because it exposes what they have refused to face. Some depend on it because they have never developed their own. And the deeper your awareness becomes, the more clearly you begin to see the people who cannot walk with you forward. This is one of the hardest parts of spiritual awakening, because your heart loves, your soul understands, but your light demands truth. You begin to see that there are people in your life who keep you tied to old versions of yourself, old patterns, old identities, old wounds, old stories. Not because they are cruel, but because they are comfortable with the version of you that needs them, pleases them, or hides to keep the peace. Your expanding awareness becomes a quiet threat to those who prefer you small. And so you feel it, in conversations that drain you, in relationships that suffocate you, in interactions that feel heavy rather than healing. Your intuition begins to whisper, some people are blocking the path of your light, and you must release them. This truth is painful, because the heart wants to hold, but awakening requires letting go. You will meet 6 types of people on your path whose energy suffocates your light, not because they are evil, but because they are unprepared for the version of you that is being born. And deep inside, you already know who they are. You know it because your light dims when they enter your field. Your clarity fogs. Your peace collapses. Your intuition becomes quiet. Your authenticity becomes small. The soul doesn't lie. It shows you the truth in the way your energy reacts. And before we explore these 6 energies fully, there is something essential you must understand. Releasing someone doesn't always mean removing them from your life. It means removing their power to shape your inner world. Some will remain physically present, but energetically distant. Some will drift away naturally. Some will leave through conflict. Some will disappear without closure. Some will transform with you, and some you must walk away from with compassion, but with courage. Your light cannot grow in the shadows of those who fear it. And so the divine play of life begins shifting your relationships, not as punishment, but as purification. You begin to recognize the first type of person who blocks your light, those who drain your energy simply by existing in your space. You know them by the exhaustion you feel after interacting with them. Your mind feels overworked. Your emotions feel heavy. Your inner clarity feels blurred. Your intuition feels buried under noise. These are not inherently bad people. They are simply disconnected from their own light and unknowingly feed off yours. Awakening makes their presence feel heavier because your energy system becomes more sensitive to unconsciousness. The second type of person who blocks your light is harder to admit: those who refuse to let you grow. They are attached to who you used to be, not who you are becoming. They feel threatened by your evolution, your boundaries, your clarity, your new truth. You begin to notice that when you speak about growth, they become cold or uncomfortable. When you change, they criticize. When you expand, they shrink you with subtle remarks. When you succeed, they grow silent. When you speak your truth, they question it. When you act differently, they call you changed, as if that were an insult. They don't want you to shrink out of malice. They want you small because your growth forces them to confront their stagnation. Your awakening exposes their comfort zone, and so they resist you. This resistance is not personal. It is psychological. They fear losing you. They fear being left behind. They fear having to grow themselves. And so they try to pull you back to the previous version of you that they could understand and control. The third type of person who blocks your light is one the spiritual path makes painfully clear: those who live in constant chaos. They don't seek peace. They seek stimulation. They seek drama. They seek emotional intensity because silence terrifies them. Awakening requires stillness, but these people thrive on noise. You can feel it the moment you enter their energy. Your nervous system tightens. Your clarity vanishes. Your inner calm is disrupted. Their chaos becomes contagious. Their instability becomes magnetic. Their emotional storms pull you in with guilt, obligation, or old patterns of rescue. But you cannot walk your spiritual path while being pulled into someone else's turbulence. Awareness becomes impossible in environments where your spirit must stay in defense mode. These people don't block your light maliciously. They block it because they are drowning internally and want you to save them, even though they are not willing to save themselves. But the truth is this: you cannot be the light for someone who refuses to open their eyes. You can offer clarity, but you cannot force consciousness. And so you begin to withdraw, not to punish them, but to protect your energy. The fourth type of person who blocks your light is more subtle: those who demand emotional labor, but offer none in return. You know them by the pattern. They come to you when they need something: advice, reassurance, validation, stability, calm. But when you need support, they become distant or unavailable. Your light becomes their shelter, but they never ask how you are doing. Never ask what you need. Never offer presence. Never reciprocate. This dynamic is unsustainable. Their energy drains your spirit because the relationship is a one-way channel. Your spiritual path cannot unfold while you are carrying the weight of others who refuse to carry even the smallest part of you. Swami Radha taught that relationships must be mutual containers of growth, not places where one soul leaks into another. But when you awaken, you realize this truth viscerally. You feel the imbalance. You feel the emptiness. You feel the weight of giving without receiving. You feel the subtle resentment inside your chest. And you realize you must release the role of healer in relationships where no one tries to heal themselves. The fifth type of person who blocks your light is one that every awakened soul encounters: those who weaponize your empathy. They know your kindness, they know your loyalty, they know your softness, and they use your compassion to keep you entangled. You sense their manipulations subtly, in their guilt trips, their emotional pressure, their implied expectations, their reactions when you say no. They don't want your growth, they want your containment. They want your empathy as long as it doesn't come with boundaries. But empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Awakening makes you see this clearly. Your awareness begins to burn through illusions. You feel the constriction in your body. You sense the emotional pull. You know with painful clarity that their presence restricts your expansion. And then there is the sixth kind of person, the one the soul recognizes instantly. Those who dim your spirit because they fear the truth of who you are becoming. Your light comforts some people, but it confronts others. It mirrors their unhealed wounds, their avoidance, their denial, their refusal to grow. You don't need to say anything. Your presence alone becomes uncomfortable for them. They may respond with distance, coldness, sarcasm, dismissiveness, or subtle hostility. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because your light shines on the parts of them they refuse to see. Awakening makes this dynamic unmistakable. You can feel it in the air when you walk into a room. You can feel when someone's spirit contracts instead of expands in your presence. And in that moment, your soul whispers the most difficult truth of all. You cannot carry everyone into the next chapter of your life. Your light is rising, and some people can only exist in your shadows. Letting them go feels painful, heavy, uncertain, guilt-filled, emotional, but something deeper inside you knows. You must choose your evolution over your old patterns, your awareness over your comfort, your inner light over your fear of disappointing others. Because the people meant for your path will never need you to dim your light to stay. Your next level of life requires spaciousness, clarity, stillness, emotional freedom, energetic integrity, awareness, and most of all, courage. The courage to release what blocks your light, so your spirit can finally expand into the fullness of who you are becoming. When awareness deepens, something inside you shifts forever. You stop seeing letting go as abandonment and begin seeing it as alignment. You stop seeing release as rejection and begin seeing it as protection of your energy, your evolution, your path, your light. Because as painful as it is, not everyone is meant to walk with you into the higher spaces your soul is entering. People come into your life for many reasons. Some to awaken you, some to challenge you, some to love you, some to test you, some to reflect your shadows, some to support your transformation, and some simply to carry you from one chapter to the next. But almost no one is meant to stay forever. Life rotates people in and out with a divine intelligence that the mind cannot understand, but the soul feels immediately. And when your inner light begins to expand, the universe rearranges your relationships to match the energy of who you are becoming. Not who you once were. This rearrangement can feel like loss, but it is actually liberation. Because one of the deepest spiritual truths is this: your light cannot rise in the presence of energies that dim it. And so the universe intervenes, sometimes gently, sometimes abruptly, sometimes through silence, sometimes through conflict, sometimes through distance, sometimes through intuition, but always with purpose. Releasing people is not about condemnation. It is about coherence. It is about alignment. It is about energetic truth. Your light can only expand in environments that support expansion. And when it becomes clear that someone cannot support the direction you're growing, your path will naturally begin to separate from theirs. This separation is not personal, it is spiritual. The soul doesn't release people out of anger. It releases them out of necessity, out of protection, out of authenticity. And perhaps the hardest lesson of awakening is this: you must be willing to disappoint others in order to not disappoint your soul. Because your soul knows when the energy is wrong, when the connection is complete, when the lesson is learned, when the cord must be cut, when the cycle has ended. And when the soul speaks, life stops supporting what dims you. You begin to feel uncomfortable around certain people, not because they have changed, but because you have. Your light no longer fits in the places where you once dimmed it. Your growth no longer fits in relationships where stagnation is the norm. Your boundaries no longer fit in dynamics where your silence was expected. Your truth no longer fits in conversations where your voice was once small. Your future no longer fits where your past is still being worshipped. And so release becomes a spiritual responsibility, not just for your evolution, but for your well-being. You may feel guilt. You may feel sadness. You may feel confusion. You may feel nostalgia. You may feel fear. All of these emotions are normal. They are part of the shedding. But behind every emotion is a deeper intelligence. You cannot rise while clinging to what anchors you down. Swami Radha taught that spiritual growth is a purification of everything that blocks your connection to inner light. Sometimes this purification happens inside you, through old beliefs, old fears, old wounds, old identities. And sometimes it happens through the people around you. Your soul will remove what distorts your clarity. Your soul will expose what drains your power. Your soul will break attachments that prevent you from seeing your truth. Your soul will create distance where you were losing energy. Your soul will end cycles where you were betraying yourself. And though the mind resists, the soul always knows what it is doing. Every person you release creates space for someone aligned, someone who sees you, someone who meets you, someone who resonates with your frequency, someone who nurtures your evolution, someone who does not fear your growth, someone who does not dim your essence, someone who does not require a smaller version of you in order to love you. As you rise, your relationships rise with you, or they fall away. This is the natural sorting of energy. Awakening is not about holding on to everyone. It is about holding on to truth. You begin to learn how to let go without closing your heart, without resentment, without bitterness, without the need to justify or explain. You let go as an act of devotion to your own spirit. Because releasing someone is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of clarity. It is saying, I cannot shrink who I am to maintain who we were. And in this honesty, something remarkable begins to reveal itself. Your light becomes stronger. The moment you release what blocks your energy, your inner radiance expands. Your intuition sharpens. Your peace deepens. Your clarity strengthens. Your creativity awakens. Your emotional body stabilizes. Your sense of self returns. Your purpose becomes clearer. Your boundaries become effortless. Your life becomes aligned. You begin to see how much of yourself you were sacrificing to maintain connections that no longer fit your soul. And there is a moment, always a moment, when you look at yourself and whisper, I am coming back to me. This is the true meaning of releasing people. It is a return to yourself, Because your soul cannot rise while carrying the weight of people who are committed to misunderstanding you, or draining you, or restricting you, or doubting you, or fearing your light, or needing you to stay small to preserve their comfort. You are not here to keep the peace if the cost is your inner peace. You are not here to heal everyone while abandoning your own energy. You are not here to dim yourself to avoid triggering others. You are not here to play roles that betray your awakening. You are not here to hold on to relationships that collapse every time you rise. You are here to become who your soul came here to be. And to do this, you must release what blocks your light. Some will understand. Some will not. Some will grow with you. Some will be left behind. Some will return transformed. Some will disappear with time. But you will become radiant. You will become emotionally clear, spiritually grounded, energetically strong, internally aligned. Because what remains after you release what dims you is always the truth of who you are. And eventually, you begin to feel gratitude for the people you once had to release. Not because losing them didn't hurt, but because releasing them created the space for your soul to expand. They played their part in your divine play. They taught what they were meant to teach. They revealed what they were meant to reveal. They awakened what they were meant to awaken. And now, their role is complete. You walk forward lighter, clearer, wiser, stronger, and more aligned. Because the universe always rewards the courage it takes to choose your light. And the final truth is this: the moment you release who blocks your light, the path ahead becomes illuminated. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you are no longer dimming your own vision. You become the light you were seeking. You become the clarity you were craving. You become the energy you were missing. You become the person your future needs. And with this, your awakening continues. You rise into the next chapter, not weighed down by the past, but guided by the truth of your own soul.